Hello everyone, this is group 3 and today we will present about grammatical functions. So firstly, I'd love to talk about our presentation outline or contents of the talk. There are 6 parts in our presentation today. The first part is class group. The second part is prepositional phrases. The third part is subject. The fourth part is finite. Fifth part is finite clause versus non-finite clause. And the last part is assignment. This is our group work task table. As you can see, there's a box with our presentation order as below and our part of presentation. For example, my name is Trần Huyền and I'm the first one to present class group. The second person is Nguyễn Hiền. She will present prepositional phrase and etc. So let's get into the first part, class group. So a group can be thought of as an expanded word. Terms like noun, verb, adjective, adverb are names of word classes, traditionally known as parts of speech. The word in sentence can be labeled according to their class. The same class labels are also used to label the groups. 4 major word classes or groups are noun group, verb group, adjective group, and adverb group. For examples, the first example is people who live in the glass houses shouldn't throw stones. So people who live in the glass houses is a noun group. Shouldn't throw is a verb group and stones is a noun group. The second sentence, generally her husband is rather dull. Generally is an adverb group. Her husband is a noun group. Is a verb group. And rather dull is an adjective group. So this is the end of my part. The next part will be presented by my friend.
Hello everyone, my name is Nguyễn and now I will start with prepositional phrase. If you want to learn about the prepositional phrase, you have to know about what are phrases. When the term group has been used here, some grammars use the term phrase. For example, noun phrase and adverbial phrase for noun group and adverbial group. However, in this lesson, only kind of phrase which is recognized is prepositional phrase. A clear distinction can be between groups and phrases. As or in the previous example of our group show, a group can be thought of as an expanded word. A phrase, however, is more like a mini clause. For example, the following clauses contain a verb group followed by a noun group. The noun group functions as what later will be called the object. We can see here, she quickly gained the gold medal. And gain here is verb group, and the gold medal is noun group or object. The second example, my grandfather had gone through the cancer several years ago. Had gone through is verb group, and cancer is noun group or object. Next, we have about what is prepositional phrase. A phrase is a sense that the words follow the prepositions are not expansions of the prepositions, but objects of prepositions. We have the example here. In my opinion, he is a good man and in my opinion is prepositional phrase. A prepositional phrase has a comparable structure with preposition. A word like to, from, behind, in, on, with, through, and more complex preposition like in front of, in spite of, and by means of followed by a prepositional object. We have the example here. Toward the go matter. Toward is prepositional and the go matter is noun, verb, or prepositional object. To the castle. To is prepositional and the castle is noun, verb, or prepositional object. In other words, the words following preposition in prepositional phrase are not expansions of the other prepositions phrase, but objects of prepositions. Prepositional phrases are therefore quite different kinds of structure from verbs. Note, however, that prepositional phrase normally operate at the same rank as groups. We should, strictly speaking, therefore refer to group or phrase rank rather than just group rank. And in the next part, my partner Mai Thị Giang will introduce about what is subject.
Hi everyone, my name is Mai Thị Giang, and now I will talk about subjects. Okay, you know, subjects are words, phrase, and clause that perform the action of or act upon the verb, and subjects normally precede the finite in the declarative clause and determine the person and number of the finite. There are many formal characteristics used to identify subjects, and there are four ways to identify subjects. Firstly, adding tag to the clause. Subjects are typically noun groups, and 5 pronouns have special subject form. And the last one is about the subjects immediately precedes the finite. And firstly, I will talk about adding tag to the clause. You know, the pronoun in the tag refer back to the subject of the clause. I have some example. Here you can see, firstly, the kid has gone home, hasn't he? You know, the kid is the subject and hasn't he is tag, and he referred to the kid in the beginning of the sentence. Yes. The sea serpent would overturn fishing boats, wouldn't it? And it referred to the sea serpent. Yeah. And also it's the same with you have won the prize, haven't you? And next is about subjects are typically noun clause. You know, a pronoun and normal clause such as that clause, WH clause, to verb clause, and verbing clause can function as a subject. For example, you see in this table, I divided into clause and example. Firstly, that clause. That clause you can identify that the sentence has the word that in the beginning of the sentence. For example, that they actually have was really appreciated, or that she is white is known by many. Second is about WH clause. You will see the words with WH in the beginnings of the word. For example, what, why, when, we. Such as what I like best is football, or why she said it was unclear. And next is about to verb clause. You will see have the word to in the beginnings of the sentence. For example, to take such a risk was rather foolish, or to become an opera singer takes years of training. And the last one is about verb in clause. It's quite easy to realize. It will have a verb in the beginning of the sentence. For example, being the chairman is a huge responsibility. Having to go back for the tickets was a nuisance. Okay, next is about 5 pronouns have special subject forms. They are I, he, we, will, they, as opposed to me, him, her, us, and them. For example, they didn't really believe her, or she didn't really believe her. Okay, and the last one I will talk about the in declarative mood clause. The subject is normally the noun group, which immediately precedes the finite. For example, we have already been searching for the answer. In this sentence, we is subject and have is a finite verb. Or you should insult yourself with a sleeve. And you is the subject and should is finite verb. Okay, and this is about subjects, and next we will talk about finance, and my friend will talk about it.
Hello everyone, and my name is Nguyệt Nhi, and now I'm going to talk to you about the finite. The first thing is that we are going to find the definition of finite. What is finite? Finite verb is a form of a verb that the first thing is it shows agreement with a subject, which means that when the subject are in plural, so the verb will be in plural. When the subject in the singular, so the verb will be in the singular form. And secondly, it is marked for tense. So to say in another word, we can see that finite change the form of itself, which means that it agrees with the subject, that you will go with like, and she will go with likes. And the second point is that it shows the tense, mean that it is marked for tense, like it's at the present tense and it at the past tense. So we have the example to illustrate about the finite. Marcus likes eating apples. So the verb likes agree with the subject. Why? Because when we change the subject to they, and the verb will be like. They like apple. It's not that Marcus likes apples, but they like apple. And the verb likes also show the tense, where we can have another example that Marcus likes apples, and is the verb likes is present tense, and when Marcus liked eating apple, it is the past tense. So the finite here is like show the tense, and it has changed to match the subject. Okay, So, and the main verb in the sentence always be finite. As you can see here, the main verb is likes and like. It is not eating. Eating is non-finite. And that part my friend will tell you more clearly. And I have more examples for you to know more clearly about the finite. The first one is that the cloud was very funny. As we have that the verb here is singular. Why? Because the subject is singular. And the second, the clouds were very funny. So we have the plural verb. That means that the finite change from singular to the plural, because the subject here is plural, are plural. Okay, and we have the second example that they didn't really believe in her. So it is the past tense. But when we want to change it to the present tense, we have the example, they don't really believe in her. The past tense change from didn't to the present tense, don't. Okay, after all, the finite is that the verb that indicate the tense, and it have to change the form of itself to match with the subject. And the finite, the main verb of the sentence always be finite. Because you know that in one sentence there's so many verbs, right? But the main verb of the sentence always be finite. And the next part about the finite phrase and non-finite phrase, my friend will tell you more clearly.
Hi guys, I'm Ngọc, and today I'd like to tell you about the finite clauses and non-finite clauses. I believe that two types of clauses are quite familiar to us, right? And today I want to recall once again about the clause about it and the best way to recognize the type clauses. Now let's start with the definition of it. About the finite clauses. The finite clause is a clause with a function finite. Yes, and it can be appears in any tenses. For example, we have two sentences. Eating, the main in the present, and the second one, we didn't get any food because we didn't have enough time. In this tendency, the main and the subordinate are in the past. And how about the non-finite clauses? Non-finite clauses, it is a clause that like the function finite. For example, after having spent 6 hours at hospital, they came home. And we have after having spent 6 hours at hospital here, it's non-finite clauses. It don't have a subject. And we move on to the first way to recognize the clauses about the finite clauses. The form, we have the form, the VS form, the base form of the verb plus S is always finite. Example, he has something to eat while he coming. You see the has and it has S in the end, and the sentence have two clauses, and all of them are finite clauses. And about the non-finite clauses, it may be a bit more complicated. We have be with ing and to with verb are always non-finite clauses. For example, we have I had something to eat before leaving. Before leaving here in non-finite clauses, and you have to look at the picture really carefully in order to see all the detail. You see, I highlight to see all the detail, and it's a non-finite clause in this sense. And The onset of substantive with only results only the participle form of the verb. It also is a non-finite clause. Example, we have century. Helped by local volunteers, staff at the museum has spent many years sorting more than 100,000 photographs. And helped by local volunteers is the non-finite clause. And the last thing I want to take note that the non-finite clauses, it can appearance after some subordinating conjunction like after, although, so, and if. Example, by the end of the day, although exhausted, Mark did not seem quite as tired as he had in the past.
Okay, so like best is the example to identify finite clause or non-finite clause. Especially, this is the fourth sentence here, and this is an exercise. And the sentence number 1 is Kate didn't like this at all. In this sentence, so Kate is played subject role and didn't like this at all. It is a finite clause, and didn't here a mark for tense. Particularly, it is past tense. The sentence number 2, tears streamed down his face. So in this sentence, it also is a finite clause because we only have one main verb is stream, and tears is a thing and it is the subject of the sentence. The sentence number 3, in silence they went through the room on the top floor. So in this sentence is a little bit special because we have preposition praise. It is in silence, and they is subject and is it pronoun. Is first person. So went through the rooms on the top of floor, it is finite clause and is the past tense. The final sentence, so therefore we have don't count. So in this sentence, so therefore is the adverb phrase and we is a pronoun and is a first person. So have don't count a finite clause because we only have one verb plays only one actions in this sentence.